What's going on, guys? It's Fight Season MMA, and today I want to talk about Francis Ngannou's win in his PFL debut at the Battle of the Giants in Saudi Arabia. He fought Renan Ferreira and absolutely went in there and KO'd him in the first round. This fight, it had a lot of hype behind it. It had a lot of different everyone thought this was going to be a first-round knockout in the first minute of the fight, and it quite wasn't that. But Francis Ngannou showed that he is an overall mixed martial artist, and I think that that was the biggest thing lacking in his boxing game, is Francis Ngannou is a genuine mixed martial artist compared to a boxer in general. But truly, Francis Ngannou got the win for his son. I'll kind of touch on that too. But this was a great fight, great PFL debut for Francis Ngannou, and I'll kind of touch on everything when we do that. But before we jump into the video, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you guys enjoy the UFC content. And while you're down there, please turn on the post notifications, just so you guys are always notified about future UFC content releasing every single day. Without further ado, let's jump in to Renan Ferreira versus Francis Ngannou, and Ngannou getting the first round KO. So yesterday was the Battle of the Giants, and Francis Ngannou stepped in there to fight Renan Ferreira, possibly his hardest test to date. Now, a lot of different individuals didn't know how good Ferreira was going to be, considering that, yes, he is in the PFL, but he is bigger than Francis, a 6'8", an absolute giant, and has a longer reach than Francis, an 85-inch reach. So this was a very interesting fight to be able to watch. The fight started, and I know Ferreira was looking to explode instantly, but Ngannou was playing it incredibly safe. That was something that really helped him throughout the fight, just kind of taking his time in order to set up shots. The biggest thing that surprised Ferreira, and I think the biggest thing that is led to the UFC and Francis's development, is of how well-rounded you actually have to be inside the organization. Because Ngannou was taking him down, he was doing some Jiu-Jitsu, some wrestling. Ngannou is a pretty good, well-rounded fighter, especially for that heavyweight division, and I don't think there's anyone who can beat him in the PFL because of how well-rounded he is. Now, guys in the UFC like Jon Jones, Tom Aspinall, I do think could beat Francis, but considering of how well-rounded he is, there's no one in the PFL, in my opinion, who's going to go in there and just beat him. But really, Francis Ngannou showed that stuff. He showed his kind of takedown defense, his wrestling ability, which ultimately led into the finishing sequence of ground and pound. Now, the ground and pound sequence, I did think Dan Miragliotta let it go a little bit longer. I'm a big fan of Dan Miragliotta, but he lets these fights go a little bit too long, in my opinion. And another fight that I remember in recent memory was Jack Della Maddalena versus Gilbert Burns. He was refereeing that fight in Miami, and he let Gilbert Burns take one too many shots, and that was something that was so sad to see, considering that I love Gilbert Burns. But really, Ngannou was just teeing off on shots on him, and he was face down in the octagon, and genuinely, it was such a sad thing to see, because Ferreira had nothing to do. He kind of was trapped there on the bottom as Ngannou was unloading on shots, and as we all know, Ngannou is one of the most powerful punchers any organization has ever seen. But really, Francis Ngannou's performance was pretty good. I don't think Ferreira was the level of opponents like a Stipe Miocic when he fought him, or guys like that, but genuinely, I do think that this was a pretty good fight for Francis Ngannou, and he did this for his son. He burst out with emotion after this fight because his son Kobe died earlier this year, and there was nothing he could really do for him. And Ngannou was talking about this was the only way that he could fight for his son, and that was such a heartfelt moment to see, because genuinely, I think Ngannou's a great dude. I know he left the UFC to gain a lot of money, and he did that with the Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua fight, but Ngannou is just a normal individual as well. He went in there just to beat Renan Ferreira to make his own name inside the PFL, and he did just that. Ultimately, I do think that Francis Ngannou is a great fighter, and he's someone who's going to be there for the future in the PFL. Now, I don't know if he's going to be able to, beat Jon Jones and beat Tom Aspinall, because those guys are genuinely so good. Now, Jon Jones, I think, would be more likely to beat, but Tom Aspinall, being the prospect that he is genuinely some incredible thing, because I don't think that Francis Ngannou would be able to deal with the speed of Tom Aspinall. But that will probably never happen, considering that Dana White has no desire to do a crossover between the PFL and UFC. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Fight Season MMA, and please let me know what you think down below in the comment section about Francis Ngannou's performance against Renan Ferreira. I did think it was a pretty good performance, honestly. Like, he did his job in there. It wasn't like absolutely starstruck, because I didn't think that Ferreira that was that technical and that good of a fighter. I know that they were talking about him being the best guy out there, but genuinely, I don't think the PFL fighters live up to on any of the UFC fighters inside the organization, just considering that the UFC has the best fighters, and I think a lot of these unranked UFC fighters could be ranked PFL fighters. I genuinely think that's the thing. So I think Francis Ngannou's performance is good. I think Ferreira is one of the better PFL fighters, but it shows that Francis Ngannou is on another level coming from the UFC organization. And truly, I do think that it's going to be something that he's going to be able to keep for a very long time, just being such a well-rounded heavyweight like he is. Well, thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Fight Season MMA, and please leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoy the content. And if you guys want to see more content, please let me know what you guys are looking into, different fight announcements, different types of stuff like that, breaking down different fighters. I will do anything if you guys want it. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. I will catch you guys very soon with more UFC content and news.